Welcome to TGIF.
Second Chronicles chapters 1 through 9, episode 1.
Here we are.
We are going to have some great conversation today, but I'm going to kind of fess up a little bit. Sometimes I confuse want and need. I mean, lately, I don't know if it's because it's getting warmer or I'm getting older, but I need a couple bites of chocolate peanut butter ice cream every night. Like, I need it. Wait. Do I need it or do I want it? Can I need and want? We can, right? I think it's a need. It's a want and it's a need. But I think we sometimes take both of those and mix it up with...
Takes us to the word of the day, which is desire.
Desire. And as soon as I hear the word desire, I go to the desire of the heart, right? Desire is deep. It's more intimate. I mean, I can really need that ice cream and I can feel super intimately needing it. But in the big scheme of things, it truly is a want. Food is a need. We need to eat to keep our energy up. But how do we work around that with the desires? And when we talk about heart and desires, it can be complicated.
Very complicated. And today we're looking at Second Chronicles, chapter 1, verse 11. God said to Solomon, because your greatest desire is to help your people, and you did not ask for wealth, riches, fame, or even death of your enemies, or long life, but asked for wisdom and knowledge to properly govern my people. I think that's really, the verse 12 goes on to say, and so then I will give you wisdom and knowledge. And so I think it's fascinating to me because remember where we left David in First Chronicles and passing the torch to Solomon and the big responsibility for a very young man. A young man with lots of desires, physical and spiritual. How does a young man, navigate some of that? How do men and women navigate the physical and the spiritual? God gives wisdom to Solomon because he revealed his true heart's desire. And God knows the true heart's desire. And I think that's where we're going today. We're trying to get at that and how you can discover maybe what your true heart's desire is. Solomon didn't manipulate God, because what we do sometimes is we manipulate God to what our desire is, really. But God already knows it. God already knows it. And so we're playing games with God that we've got to be very careful about. But God could see Solomon's heart was not in any way focused on what he wanted, but really was looking out for it. I love this part of it. God's people, because it says at the end, you want to properly govern my people. And that's God saying that to Solomon. It's like, that should be our desires, is to share Jesus with everybody. That should be our greatest heart's desire, but so much other stuff gets involved. Not easy.
Because we live in a world that is very, very attractive, and we know that at the end of the day, we can kind of work pretty hard to get whatever we want. And that, God knows too. God knows if you're working for the promotion. God knows if you're working for entitlement. But because he knows your true desire of the heart. And there are people who, think about missionaries. The desire, they're called to be a missionary. And their desire is to go help and spread the word of God. I mean, I would think the desire is pretty genuine for most, okay? God knows. But even then, if something doesn't work out right, we just can't get past the fact that just because you're doing it truly for the Lord, it's still going to work out like you want. And I think that's where people lose their faith, walk away from God, when they prayed really hard for something and it didn't work out like they want.
You made fun of the peanut butter and chocolate ice cream, but reality is that spiritual side and the physical side, it gets so intertwined and mixed up in our heads and our hearts, and it just is all over.
I get cranky when I don't get it. If I want chocolate and I don't get it, I'm cranky. I mean, It's just these physical bodies.
And I think a lot of times, though, you see that with a lot of other things, even when it comes around money. There are some people that are so focused, hyper-focused on money, that every conversation is around money, even if it's like trying to figure out how best to spend your money or how best to invest your money. But it's always money, money, money. There's no deeper spiritual value. I think that's the challenge we have, is that God sees that. God knows that that's something that's so heavy on our hearts all the time, that that's what we're focused on, rather than saying, God, I give this life to you. I give it all to you. You provide my finances. You provide my future. I trust you. So what do you need me to do for you today? What do you want out of me today, rather than always trying to ask out of God? I think that was what Solomon said. I want to govern your people as a good king. He saw the history of a bad king. He saw the history of a good king. So he knew, and even his father had said, trust in the Lord. Trust God. Always trust God. And so I think that's what we've got to focus on when we talk about the desires of our heart.
It almost becomes like a sorting. Like I just picture like all these files, or just a pile of something, and you're sorting through it, because things are thrown at us all day long. I mean, there are opportunities are endless in every way, shape, and form within our lives, in the everyday things, even the everyday mundane. There's so much there. How do we begin to sort? How do we begin to make sure we're having the right conversations with God? Where do those right conversations start with God?
I think one thing that can get you to your attention right away is when the things coming out of your mind are always, I need and I want. I need and I want. I need and I want. Right there, you're in the wrong language. It's like, what can I do for you, God? Or how can I help you in this? What do you need me to do, God? It's like reversing it and asking, what do you need out of me, God? What do you need out of me?
And then that response to when we don't get, because it could be a need. I mean, there are things that are needed. I mean, financially, people do struggle. But when it doesn't work out how we want, and we feel like, okay, God, I prayed for this, and it didn't work out how we want, then it becomes how we respond to that. Because how are you still serving God, and how is your heart's desire still deeply embedded in alignment with God? I mean, you feel like it is, you feel like you're there, but things still don't always work out.
And we watch King David, 40 years being a king. He messed up. He did mess up a couple times. And so here we have Solomon's going to reign for 70 years. That's a long time to reign and truly be focused on what God. It's going to get bad after this. There'll be a few more good kings, but it doesn't go well. But this reign is really critical in understanding how Solomon was so devoted to govern God's people and care for God's people. That was his priority every day. Did he get caught up in some of the other things to just see, how, is there any joy to be found in just acquiring everything in the world? Yes. But we also learn a lesson. So Solomon did it. We don't need to do it. He's already discovered there's no value in acquiring as much material wealth as you can. There's no value in it. It still comes back to that desire of the heart and serving God.
And that sorting, it's almost like a daily sorting, sorting back, because like you said, like the desire of his heart was to help people, but then, if things are getting worse, the story goes on. That should be a great reminder to us. This isn't over. Your story's not over until you are no longer breathing on the face of this earth. And then it's not over if you're a Christian, because you have all eternity with God. It's almost like we're constantly restarting, because if something's not happening, if something's going our way, something else is going to not go our way pretty soon. It's just the world. So it's like this daily sorting of, okay, God, is it about me and my wants and my needs? And I understand there are needs that are genuinely true, needed, that physical for sure. But am I sorting the desire of my heart today to want to do what you have called me to do? And I think so many people don't even know what they're called to do. They don't even, and they're not daily seeking it. It's like, why never hear from God? Well, you can't just say, God, call him up one day and then hear from him. It's a relationship, and it's growing deeper all the time. So it's hard. We say that a lot, but it's hard. That's why you've got to be in the Word of God and knowing the end of the story. Our story is still his story, and we're just living in and through it.
And the whole point of what we're doing is designed for purpose.
Absolutely.
Reminding you were designed for a purpose. That is to serve and love God and ask God, what can I do for you, God?
Mm-hmm. And if there's chocolate peanut butter ice cream at the end of the day, that's just like a win-win. That's like a double win. But if that is my focus, I know it's silly, but hopefully you get where we're going with that. So our question, God knows your desire. Do you? You might say, well, your desire is not just making sure retirement is comfortable, because I'm doing good things, I'm tithing, I'm doing that. That could be, but just make sure you're really checking in, because God knows if it is. I'm not calling anyone out, but I'm just trying to enter into those places of God knows if you really just want a promotion, but you're saying you're going to give God the glory when you get the promotion. God knows what the desire was. Yeah, so that's good. So work on aligning your desire, the desire of your heart, just making sure it's God's calling on your life. So we wrap up. We just started Second Chronicles, and we're going to wrap it up. A lot of reading this week, reading chapters 10 through 36 to finish it up. And we will see you next time on TGIF. Make it a great week. Bye.